Right guys, this is a long plane review for 3D Starstrike on the Amstrad CPC, released by Realtime Games Software in 1985. And this is essentially a clone of Atari's famous Star Wars coin-op, but released 2 years earlier than Domark's official conversion. It actually holds up very well against it, and this is in mode 0 with extra colours compared to Domark's Star Wars in mode 1. But I'm a huge fan of the Atari Star Wars coin-op. In fact, it's probably my favourite game of all time. So when I find out there's a clone of it on the Amstrad but in full colour, I'm going to immediately check it out. And several years later, here I am at last with the long play and review. Now, this was Realtime Games Software's first release on the Amstrad and their second ever on any system, their first being 3D Tank Duel, a Battlezone clone on the ZX Spectrum. But anyway, enough about Realtime Games Software. Let's actually kick off this long play. We'll talk more about them later. Loading screen here, very simple one. At least it had the names of the programmers there, which would be useful. And again, very simple title screen. But we actually get a few extra screens here, so we'll let it roll through them all before kicking off. But sadly, no music, and I don't think there's any music in any of the versions of this game. Okay, so we have for this long play, I have two objectives. Firstly, we're going to play through the entire game starting at the easiest level 1 to the end of level 7, the hardest level, and you can actually choose to start immediately on level 7 if you want to. And our second objective is to score over 1 million points. Okay, so let's kick things off. We're going to choose joystick here, of course, and if you chose very hard level 4 there, it actually jumps you forward to level 7. But here we are on our very first level, and yes, it's Atari Star Wars, but in colour. Well, the sprites are all the same colour in yellow, and the fireballs do have different colours for it though, and we've got a nice looking heads-up display at the bottom there, with some extra splashes of colour there, and you can see the star field there is a mixture of colours too. So yeah, it actually looks quite nice, bright and colourful, if a bit sort of chunky on the pixels because we're in the Amstrad's mode 0, which is basically 16 colours and chunky pixels. Already on to level 2 here, and just like in Atari Star Wars, we're flying over the surface of the Death Star, shooting like these little red turrets. And later levels, these will change to laser towers. It's pretty much identical to Atari Star Wars, apart from some differences at the very end of a wave. So as you can see, guys, it's not the greatest frame rate in the world, but it's actually pretty decent for 3D vector graphics, especially if you're familiar with other games of its type. Control-wise, it's okay. Actually, I'll talk more about the controls in a little bit as we just go on our first trench run to the Death Star. Actually, it's not the Death Star at all, is it? But yes, it's exactly the same as Atari Star Wars here. Yeah, avoid these. And also, we're going to see if we get any bonus points for not shooting our laser. Let's see how much attention they were paying to the Atari Star Wars. Because if you do this section without shooting your laser, you get an extra bonus for using the Force. Let's see if anything happens when we do it on 3D Starstrike. Oh, I just hit a barrier there. That's that noise. And no, I don't think we got that. So instead of like hitting the exhaust port, we're going to destroy these 2 pods to disable that laser field there. And that's the only difference from Atari Star Wars. That even looks a bit like the Death Star there. And there you go. That is the first level done of 7 that we're doing here. Nice hyperspace effect there. And off we go on level 2. And immediately we get hit. Yikes. So, gameplay-wise, I mean, essentially, you want to always go and target the fireballs coming at you first, because they do travel quite quickly, and I'm getting caught out there. So if you see a fireball, go for that first before going for the enemy fighter ship. And with shooting the fighter ships, you've got to sort of anticipate where they're going and shoot in front and ahead of them, and that will make things a lot easier for you once you sort of clock that you need to do that. Just like in Atari Star Wars, actually. Oh, now we get laser towers appear, and there's a bonus for shooting the tops off the laser towers, which is exactly the same as Atari Star Wars. So I'm surprised Atari didn't sue, but there you go. We have 15 to destroy on this particular wave and section of this wave, and you can see it counting down there at the bottom. We've got 6 more to shoot, and we're going to try and do that on this run. At least one, so I'm kind of ignoring the fireballs because you've got a very short amount of time to do this in it, and it's extremely difficult to target them. And we just did it there. But yeah, it's the controls that are kind of a real problem in this game. There, it's moving the crosshair around. It's not so much of a problem on this section, not unless you're trying to target the fireballs, but it's definitely aiming to hit targets, especially the tower tops in the previous section. The cursor movement here, the targeting is it's hard to describe. It's really hard to describe, but I'll try my best here. It's a weird thing it has where it's always pulling the crosshair back to the centre of the screen. Now, Atari Star Wars and even the official conversion did do the same thing, but it wasn't as harsh. It's like it's on a rubber band, and the rubber band is sort of pinned to the centre of the screen, and it's like literally as soon as you release the direction you've just been moving in, it will be pulling it straight back to the centre, and quite harshly so. So that takes some getting used to. And this is where it doesn't beat the Domark conversion, the official conversion for me, because whilst that did have that pull back to the centre, it was a long time before that kicked in. And this makes it really difficult, and therefore it loses a lot of fun with targeting and shooting, spaceships and stuff like that. And with the added bit of lag, which again the Domark conversion also had, it adds up being much more of a problem. And you'll find in this run that I kind of abandon going to shoot all the tower tops because it's just so difficult to. You got to concentrate on those fireballs coming at you as well, and you can't really do both. Not unless you're looking to progress in the game and get to later waves, because you're just going to end up being hit all the time. I've been hit about 3 or 4 times by fireballs there. Look how hard it was there for me to hit that tower top. And again there, just about did it. So I've got to mark it down severely for that, I'm afraid. And it's not like the Amstrad has problems with getting a crosshair smoothly moving around the screen. We've seen it happen in Operation Wolf and Prohibition, even Danger Street that I looked at recently on my channel had a crosshair you can move about and really nice and smoothly, and it wasn't an issue. So yeah, marked down for that, but I am forgiving though. I mean, this is really early days of programming on the Amstrad anyway, and it's a very, very early release from Realtime Games software. Anyway, shall we give you the story from the manual? Yes, let's read it out in full. Story goes: suddenly, there were the outsiders appearing in massive fleets on the edge of the galaxy. They seemed uninterested in conquest, only destruction. Earth's fleets decimated, and the Federation lay on the brink of collapse. In desperation, Federation Command chose to strike directly at the outsider control centres. These immense bases were constructed within hollowed-out moons. To destroy them required a direct hit on the base's reactor systems at the very centre of the moon. The only access to the reactor chamber was through 2 cooling ports within the base's equatorial duct. To reach these, however, an attacker was forced to run the gauntlet of the base's heavy ground and space defences. To penetrate these, a new generation of starfighters was created, the Starstrike series. There you go. Interesting they say the Starstrike series because this game did have a sequel. More on that in a little bit, actually. Let's talk about the coders here first, actually. So the game was coded by Ian Oliver, Graham Baird and Andy Onions, who were Leeds University students who had formed Realtime Games Software a year earlier in 1984 during the finals of their university courses. Now, Ian Oliver founded Cross Products, who produced game development kits for consoles after Realtime Games Software. Graham Baird, he went on to work at Cynosis and most recently worked on the Colin McRae Rally, Driver and Little Big Planet game series. Andy Onions, I'm not sure what happened to him, but he worked more on the business side of things at Realtime Games Software, but also did a fair amount of coding himself, but I think primarily on sprites and stuff like that. But yes, this was developed first on the Speccy before being converted to the Amstrad, and it's the same with the sequel Starstrike II. Now, the sequel Starstrike II is actually very impressive. It's like an arcadey Elite. It even performs better, and it even has shading on its vector sprites. So I'd highly recommend you check it out, and maybe one day I might look to do a long play of that. But Realtime, they self-published their own games before Firebird and Rainbird started publishing for them. Apparently, they struggled to get this game and its sequel, Starstrike II, in the shops at the time. I think maybe places like WH Smith's and stuff weren't convinced they were a proper big legit company, but reviews in the magazines at the time certainly helped, and apparently this and its sequel did sell rather well. But the next and also their last release on the Amstrad was Carrier Command for Rainbird. And there was a planned but cancelled game called Argonautica in between Starstrike 2 and Carrier Command. I've never actually played Carrier Command. I'm not a big fan of sort of Sims and stuff like that, but I'm told it's very, very good for what it is. So there you go. Starstrike 2, though, is well worth checking out. Again, I've only had a cursory plays of it, but it seems to have a lot of great stuff in it. Perhaps without all the boring bits of Elite. I don't know. Some people won't find what I'm referring to as boring in Elite. But anyway, moving on. So this appeared on 2 other computers. So there was 3 versions of 3D Starstrike. I should note, actually, they dropped to the 3D part of the title in Starstrike 2. So it's not called 3D Starstrike 2. It's literally just called Starstrike 2. So a lot of people don't realise that Starstrike 2 is a sequel to this, and this is indeed the first game in the series or whatever, but there you go. Anyway, so 3D Starstrike also appeared on the ZX Spectrum, and it's pretty much identical to the Amstrad CPC version. Whilst it has less colours, it's still very colourful for the Speccy. However, it's a slightly higher resolution with the Amstrad in mode 0 with its thick pixels. So it's 50-50 which you think looks better. Do you prefer the more colours on the Amstrad, but do you mark it down for having sort of the thicker, chunkier pixels? It's up to you. Sound effects aren't as good on the Speccy's beeper, but let's be honest, guys, they're not anything particularly special here, but they certainly are better than the Spectrums. It looks to play at the same speed too, actually. Both versions seem pretty much identical in frame rate and speed. It's hard to notice if one's running faster than the other. Now, there was one other version of 3D Starstrike, and this was not for the Commodore 64 or anything like that. It was actually for the Enterprise 64. Yes, this had an Enterprise version. And thank you to the legend that is Steve Benway and his YouTube channel for the only footage that exists on YouTube of 3D Starstrike running on the Enterprise. So go and check that out. And it looks like it's pretty decent and plays and moves the same. But it's the least colourful version. But a decent conversion. But definitely the least of the 3. So it's a toss-up between the Amstrad and Speccy versions. Yeah, to be honest, I think I probably prefer the Amstrad for its more colours and better sound effects. But there you go. That's just me. And there we go. As for magazine reviews at the time, well, this was reviewed in Amstrad Action Magazine issue 1 in October of 1985. They described it as an outstanding vector graphic shootout. It was only a short review given it was their first issue and they were covering over 100 games, I think, there. But they marked it down on the difficulty to control the crosshair, and I can't disagree with that. They gave the graphics 92%. Wow. Sonics 53%. Grab factor 88%. Staying power 84%. And an AA overall rating of 86%. So there you go. I'll give my review in a short bit, actually. I'm going to just concentrate on the gameplay here. So we're on level 6, and things here are, like, now super tough as we're approaching the final level after this. And I might go for a few tower tops here, but it's mostly survival and avoiding the actual towers and the fireballs. Well, it looks like I'm going for the tower tops here then. I really should be saving my shield energy for the final... Well, I won't say final level. It does continue on beyond level 7 and into double digits. And but it doesn't seem to get too much harder beyond that. It's already pretty tough at the moment. Anyway. Side note, if you start straight from level 7 from the menu, just like the Atari Star Wars Coin-Up Original, it's actually slightly easier than if you get to level 7 via starting from level 1 and going all the way through it. And Atari Star Wars is the same, actually. Strange, that. Oh, God. Now, you don't get much energy restored at the end of a level, so... well, that's really bad. I've got hit several times there. Oh, no! I'm going to make it really hard for myself on level 7 now. Oh, Jesus. I find it a lot easier to navigate this kind of level on Domark's official conversion. I've literally got no energy left, so one more hit will kill me here. Or actually, one more after that. So we just did it. We've got one more level to go. I think normally I would have just gave up and restarted my long play attempt, but I carried on here, and well, wait and see. So yeah, look at my energy level. So I've got to be super careful. I get 2 hits immediately. That sucks. I'm going to need an absolute miracle to get through this level now. But it looks like we're doing alright now. Those are clearly... look like Darth Vader's ship there. Again, I'm surprised George Lucas didn't sue, but... Hey, it was the early mid-80s, and people seem to be able to get away with clones a lot easier back then. Alright, approaching enemy base, initiating tack run. And I think this is just going to be an avoid 'em up now. Oh no! Got hit by 1. I can maybe survive 2 or 3 hits now, potentially. So I'm just trying to float through, pulling at a hard direction, either left or right, and moving up and down, targeting the odd fireball, and just hoping I get through here. Obviously, I'm not bothered about tower tops here. Damn. I got hit there. That's a bit unlucky. Yeah, it's not very forgiving with the fireballs. Here we go, entering Equatorial Duct. Equatorial Duct, honestly. Obviously, it was called the Trench Run, wasn't it? In Star Wars. Equatorial Duct. Right, I've literally got to get through this without getting hit. One more, I think one more hit will kill me. Let's see if we can do this. You would have thought those fireballs would have hit me there. Back then. Here we go. Yes! There we go. Shoot reactor pods to destroy enemy base. I don't think that's as good as hitting the exhaust port in Star Wars, but there we go. We did it. Thank God for that. By the skin of our teeth at the end there. But there you go. So, you know, with my review, I think I agree with Amstrad Action that moving the cursor around is the biggest issue. And we've seen it done smoothly enough before in games like Operation Wolf and Prohibition and stuff. And that's the biggest problem for me in this game. And sort of ruins the fun a little bit. I mean, the official Star Wars game had a similar issue, and it's hard to emulate analog controls on a digital joystick. But I'd rather they had made the crosshair free roaming rather than having it pull back to the centre, or at least not have it pull back so quickly and so soon. And whilst it's initially really good fun, especially if you're a big fan of the Atari Star Wars coin-op, you'll tire of it soon enough, and it perhaps hasn't aged that well. However, I had really, really good fun with this, but only for a short, quick blast. So it doesn't have longevity, but it's still good fun for a quick go, and you know, I recommend it. So I'm going to give this, guys, a 7.5 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please click a like below, leave a comment, and also subscribe if you haven't already. And over that way, there's another video for you to check out. Zypho, out.